怒りを叫べ悲しみを叫べ魂を叫べ今ここで叫べ
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Yokai Delinquents podcast. I am Sean, Bearded Kappa Litton.
And I am Jerry Robo Tengu Smith. How's it going for you today, Sean?
Oh, it is going magnificent. I am fully rested and not half asleep at all.
I sensed a little bit of sarcasm there.
Man, I'm eternally tired. It's that whole moment from the Avengers first one where they're like Banner's talking about, you want to know my secret? I'm always tired. He just lays down in the street instead of hulking out. And all that would be me. That's my version.
You go to Hulk out, and as you go, it does like one of those like classic like sleeping outfits, with like the matching like pants and shirt, and then you get the little cap too.
Yep.
Yeah. And then a pillow just pops up.
Just out of nowhere, just curl up in the middle of the destruction of an alien invasion because I'm the sleeping Hulk. How about you, good sir?
It's been going pretty good. Just staying busy, chilling on my new couch that I finally got in. Playing a little bit of games, watching a little bit of stuff. It never ends, Sean. There's always something to watch. It feels like there's always some kind of media to get sucked into.
I mean, there's always something to watch, but is there always time to watch everything?
That's true. That's true. You never have all the time. One of the things that Steph and I started up recently was a game called It Takes Two.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of this at all?
I have in fact not.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. It's a very like cooperative game. The studio that I think produced it made a game back in the day called No Way Out. And this is kind of how I found out about it. Because our good friend Jonathan Cook and I played No Way Out, and most games these days you have to play strictly online. I mean, you could play this one online, but it's split screen no matter how you play it. Like you can always see the other person's screen.
Right.
And it's a lot of cooperative play and everything. And No Way Out was essentially these two guys that wound up in prison together, found out they had a similar vendetta against the same person. And you work together to escape from prison and then run from the cops and then, get your like vengeance or whatever. So It Takes Two is actually a bit of a more like dramatic change from that, where you are playing a husband and a wife. But not only are you playing them, but you're playing your daughter's toy versions of them.
Oh.
So the synopsis is they're going through a divorce, and the daughter, it seems kind of like it's the daughter not really knowing how to handle this, because she's fairly young, and so she's all about this whole thing of like them becoming friends again. She has this interesting like love book about couple staying together, and it's kind of funny because the book animates itself whenever it's in this whole like whatever fever dream that you and the other character are in,
right,
as the husband and wife, and it's like got this like wild like Hispanic accent and everything, like a love guru or whatever. It's very interesting. But it's one of the really cool things about it that and they get to flex really hard on the cooperative aspect of this game, because in No Way Out, you're just two normal dudes in a seemingly normal world. So it's very like realism is a factor there, right?
Right.
Well, for It Takes Two, since you're like miniaturized like little figures, like the husband's made out of clay and the wife's made out of wood, there's a lot of like stuff in the like small world that you're going through and having to deal with. Like one of the first ones, you're kind of in like a workshop. So and they always give you like tools based on whatever the theme of the area you're in.
Right.
Um, so the husband gets these like magic nails that he can throw and pin things down, and then the wife gets the like a head of a hammer that she can use to like pound things and like grappling hook onto things and stuff like that. So you use like stuff like that to solve puzzles,
Right.
and
Okay.
yeah, it was really cool. There was one where it kind of reminded me of Conker's Bad Fur Day a bit. You had this war against squirrels and wasps. Um, they give you these weapons. It's like one's a like explosive sap, so you spray it all over everything, and then the wife gets like this matchstick gun where she could ignite it. So there's a lot of stuff with that. That was really interesting. It's
Okay.
been a lot of fun, and it's a kind of an interesting way to kind of go through this whole thing of like you know what like parents go through like during a divorce, but nobody really likes to talk about what happens with the child in
Right.
that situation.
Right.
So
No, that is
it is.
interesting, and that's
Yeah.
what's really cool about indie developers. Because,
Hmm.
and not to say, and there may be a game just like this from, like, say, a big publisher, but I feel
Hmm.
like a big publishers would be more hesitant about releasing a game with that kind of subject matter, even if it's only
Right.
like the subtext of it all.
Hmm.
Because in the end, it's a cooperative, sounds like a cooperative platform puzzle game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with the whole backdrop of a child going through divorce, I feel like
Hmm.
EA is not going to make that game. But
Right.
the beauty of indie publishing these days, especially in video games, and with the access from Steam to the digital releases on all major like console systems and stuff, like you can get a lot of games like that, and so
Hmm.
and I love
Hmm.
seeing that. I do. While admittedly I don't necessarily always play any games like that, I always
Hmm.
love. I love hearing like the creativity and like kind of the uniqueness that comes out of the indie world.
Right. Right. And I called it No Way Out. It's actually called A Way Out.
Oh,
Is was the previous game by
okay,
Hazellight Studios. Um, Yeah, and it's kind of fun because Steph and I play like we get into a lot of like co-op games and stuff like that are very like you both have to kind of be on the same level and everything like that. And it just seems like a lot of them are you have the same sort of gimmick throughout the game and you just you get like additions to the gimmick,
right,
and this one changes it up every time you change your theme. um there was one that was like had us rolling though, because there's a lot of humor in it as well, with kind of the interesting um like design that they took for this game, and
right.
like the subject matter of you walking through is like dolls and stuff. And you get to one that's all sci-fi. So the husband gets like this belt that makes him like grow and shrink, and the wife has these shoes that make it to where she can walk on anything. So with the husband it's a lot about like weight and strength and like pushing things.
Mm,
Um, so we got to this thing, and it's like one of those like catapults where like she stands on one end and I stand on the other, and I like slam it and it launches her up or whatever.
right.
So we get to this point and I'm like, oh no, you have to like launch me up um, first, and then I have to grow big and shrink this platform down, and then we can both get on it. So in my head I was like, maybe since if we're the same size, we she won't be able to get me high enough. So if I go smaller, then she'll be able to get me up there. And like, so whenever you go small, you go really small. And she fucking hit the platform, and it launched me into the moon. And we got an achievement. It was just the funniest thing because they did that really like high pitched like scream, and you just saw like the star, ding,
Right.
and we were just fucking rolling.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, yeah, but it's been a really fun game, and it definitely kept us on our toes. And it's funny because we just started it last night, but I feel like we've done so much in it so far. But yeah,
Okay.
it's been really great.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know who else? Like like I said, co-op games and whatnot, working together.
Mhm.
Know who likes to work together in a team?
Who? Who?
The Bad Batch.
Oh yes.
You like that segue?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that was great.
I
It's
tried.
funny. It actually worked for the other thing that we were going to talk about too. But
We'll get to
I
that.
guess this is just, yeah. I guess this is just our theme this episode.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah,
cooperation.
I
Yeah,
know.
but yes,
Yeah.
Star Wars: The Bad Batch dropped earlier. Well, actually, we're almost a week away now as of this recording.
Mhm.
But they
Yeah.
dropped episode. I call it episode one. It's damn near movie one
Right.
for first the premiere episode on National Star Wars Day,
Hmm.
May the 4th. And then we got Friday. We got the second episode. And while again, as per I think the tradition we've started, I don't want to get too deep into it because I'm pretty sure we're going to do
Hmm.
our season review once it's all said and done. But
Oh yeah.
immediately, the show has already become amazing.
Oh yeah.
Like they were definitely a highlight, and I was happy to see they were getting their own show from the last season of Clone Wars. And
Yes.
without like I said, we'll talk spoilers during the season wrap up, but like
Hmm.
the immediate tie-ins to other franchises. That's what I'll say.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Was
Oh
like,
yeah.
and even I had to make sure I had to look up a character's name to make sure.
Okay. Can I just say something about that character?
Uh huh.
I was a little thrown off by the voice.
Yeah. Look, you can only do so much when you're 45 and
It just
voicing a 12-year-old.
Yeah, it just reminded me of like a big head character. I'm like, why is this character's voice so deep? And I thought about it.
Yeah.
I thought about the connection, and then I talked to my cousin about it, and he was trying to like tell me the name, and I'm like, who the fuck are you talking about? And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, right. Yes.
Well,
All right.
and see, here's the key because
Yeah.
I forgot about the name change, and I'm sure we're giving away
Yeah.
enough clues, but I'm not gonna cross that spoiler line.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I long forgot about the name change,
Yeah.
but it was the awkward voice that made me like, okay,
Yeah.
this person's somebody.
Exactly.
Like they wouldn't have this weird ass voice with this with this character
Yep.
if it
Yep.
wasn't important. And I looked up who voiced him. Like, wait a minute. And then follow got the map with all the yarn with
Yeah.
pictures and
Yep.
names all connected, and I finally
Yeah. All the numbers
I fi-
popping up in front of your face.
I finally figured it out what Craig probably figured out in 3 seconds.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
but between that, not only that was a great little tie-in, but just
Oh yes.
yeah, seeing the Bad Batch again, seeing a lot of what went on during the end of the Clone Wars
Yep.
has been super interesting, and
Oh yes.
we got a new character in Omega, with has a lot
Hmm.
of like. I feel like they said it clearly, but the more I talk to people, like they didn't pick up what I did. So I don't know if I'm filling in gaps of my own,
Hmm.
and again, we can discuss that a little more in depth, maybe a little later when we get more details. But she is a new character they brought in with the Bad Batch,
Yeah.
and well, actually, I guess we can kind of speculate, or you can tell me. Like I said, this is episode 2. By the time this is recorded,
Yeah.
it'll be damn near
Right.
time for episode 3. Episode 3 will be out by the time this
Yeah.
airs. So Omega, I believe they said she was a failed experiment, and so I'm pretty sure they said something, or she said that she's also like one of them, like a bad
Yeah.
clone. So
Yeah.
that makes me think she's also a clone of Django. That maybe but like somehow her being female is considered defective to them.
Yeah. Kind of like Boba or something.
Well, Boba was intentionally like raised,
Yeah.
not made not to grow, but
Right.
her to come out female. Maybe that's what the issue was. If that's,
See, I'm
But
not
I'm-
really sure.
yeah, like I don't know if I may have filled in those dots, or but because they said she was like they considered her like a part of a Bad Batch. That's why she was just there help being a lab assistant. But
Yeah,
then we
yeah.
got the shot of her like picking up a rifle and being really damn good all of a sudden. So maybe I'm filling
Yeah.
in my own dots, but like it'll be interesting to see if I'm right. So
Yeah.
we have on record I'm calling that shot now.
All right.
That's-
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it was also one of the characters mentioned it in the second episode. It was like um, all of the clones have their purpose, even the ones that are seemingly defective. They still have a reasons for being or whatever. and she's just basically got to find hers. I mean, we know that she's really smart and stuff, but what
Yeah.
else? I just imagine that there's one of the what are they Camino people.
Yeah.
There's just that one fucking guy that's just like, this is cool, but let's make it even cooler and like doing like weird shit with them. That
Right.
fucking one dude Gary that's just like,
There's always
hey,
yeah. There's always a Gary. Like let's
yeah, yeah,
let's add that X chromosome into the
yeah.
picture and see what
they,
happens.
they need an extra arm or extra eyes or something.
Or look like Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. Like
That is
Hunter
obviously Rambo,
well,
Sean.
which is who basically
Yeah,
Solid Snake
yeah,
is king. Hunter is
right.
100% Solid Snake,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and I'm all about it. Like,
yeah.
uh,
Oh yeah,
like they were already like a good quirky bunch with them all being
yeah.
very different from your typical clone soldiers. But I think we're getting, and we're already getting it with Hunter.
Yeah.
We're gonna really
His
start developing their unique like growth as characters. I think.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you have them genetically engineered with like super smarts, super strength, super mullet. They all kind of have their own like go-to like signature thing.
Yeah.
And then you also it's Echoes, right?
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
yeah, so the cool thing about him is so he was the one that was captured by the separatists,
Right.
that was experimented on and everything, and they saved in the last quote unquote last season of
Right.
Clone Wars that they did, and that's whenever they brought in the Bad Batch, and he ended up deciding to stay with them,
Yeah.
which was really really cool because he was such a long running character, and I think he was in Rex's group, right?
I believe so. Because yeah, up
Yeah.
until he got altered so much, he was a normal.
Hmm.
Well, not normal. He
Yeah.
excelled in the clones, but like he
Hmm.
was a just a normal specimen clone. But now with all his genetic changes from the droid army, the separatist army,
Hmm.
he's now considered just as bad as the Bad Batch.
Right.
So
Yeah.
again, it's been really cool, and I mean, you gotta love Wrecker. That dude
Hmm.
he's just big and he wants to break shit, and he has his
Hmm.
he has his teddy bear bunny. And, like, I don't know. He's been cracking me up these 2 episodes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
So adorable.
yeah, I'm already like thoroughly hyped. I was hoping this is when it was dropping in between like
Hmm.
Marvel shows. So we
Oh
got
yeah.
keeping a constant stream of goodness coming out of Disney Plus.
Oh yeah.
On top
Oh
of
yeah.
every damn thing else that's coming out. But
Hmm. Yeah, and just kind of putting a nod to Disney Plus. Steph and I kind of got like a wild hair the other night and decided to watch all of I guess yeah, all of the live action Disney movies that we
oh,
hadn't seen yet, which were a lot.
oh,
More than I thought. We actually started with Milan,
right.
which was really fucking good.
It was good.
Like, yeah, it was funny, because everybody's like, "Oh, I don't see any singing. There's no Eddie Murphy dragon and stuff like that." And it's like, this movie is amazing. Like, it was so good.
So
Um,
here's I'll give a quick thoughts because I never did do a
mhm,
Mulan review on my channel or anything.
yeah,
It's not a good adaptation,
right.
but it's a good movie.
Oh yes.
And here's the thing: like you have to, it's one of those like we've talked about before. I'm pretty sure we talked about before on this show. Like
Hmm.
I always use my go-to reference is the Constantine film
Hmm. Hmm.
with Keanu Reeves. You can totally enjoy that movie as long as you forget anything you know about Hellblazer. You know,
Right.
and John Constantine. Just take it for what it is.
Yeah.
It's like that. Take Mulan for what it is. It's a solid kung fu like epic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It gave me like really strong hero
Right.
vibes for
Yeah,
sure.
and that's fine. But when you do want to kind of take into a comparison to the original animated film, which again, I
Hmm.
don't care that there was no Eddie Murphy Mushu.
Hmm.
I don't care
Hmm.
that there were no song and dance numbers. They actually, and they even did musical cues in the
Hmm.
background, subtle to at least reference them. The only
Hmm.
complaint is like, and again, taking it for like to treat it like a traditional Disney film, where it fell
Hmm.
flat was that which again works as a kung fu flick, but doesn't really work as a epic, is that Mulan was already a badass from the jump.
Hmm.
So there was no character growth of her just being a peasant girl forced into a horrible situation and learning to grow and defend her country. She was already
Hmm.
a Wing Chun
Oh
master,
yeah.
So like
Oh
take
yeah.
so I can see those complaints and I get that. But if you can again forget the animated film and just take it for what it is, it's a solid
Oh
action
yeah.
film.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then it's funny because it always cracked me up because another one we watched was Lion King, and it was always just this sort of like silly thing of like, can you call it live action?
It is
Because it's all
absolutely not
still
live action.
CG. Yeah.
But it looks so realistic. People usually categorize it, but
Yeah.
technically, it's a cartoon
Yeah.
also.
Right. Right. And it was really good. Very like kind of opposite, but still just as fucking good. It was very very faithful to the original.
Okay.
Uh, and I appreciated all of the voices and stuff. Have you seen Lion King yet?
Have not, to be perfectly
Oh,
honest.
yeah.
I no, my childhood, Lion King was a big
Hmm.
part of my childhood because when I came
Hmm.
out,
Hmm.
I was still very young.
Right.
Uh, and it's nothing like against it, but it looks like it's just a CG rendition of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Essentially.
so
Yeah.
it's like it's not to make it where I'll sit down and watch it one day, I'm sure.
Hmm.
But because it pretty much looks like a pretty faithful, other than some some changes here and there, faithful
Yeah.
remake of the original. I don't feel a desire to go out and go out of my way to watch it when I already got so much other shit
Right.
I got to be watching.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
one day I'll be sitting here just throw something on the background while I'm doing my other things, and
Yeah.
so it may happen. So like
Hmm.
you've listed so far just the live action like remakes. Is that what y'all are
Right.
focusing on, or are you checking out all live action Disney films that you haven't seen?
So it's mostly just the live action remakes. And it's funny because I think before Mulan, the only one that we saw was probably Aladdin.
Right.
Yeah. So then we went to from Lion King. We I think we watched Lady and the Tramp,
Okay.
which was decent. I honestly had only seen the animated version of that like a handful of times, so I honestly couldn't remember like the original plot of it or anything.
I mean, not there's not much to it. A family
Yeah,
gets a
yeah,
dog finds a stray, wants to go kick it out in the street, racist
yeah,
Asian cats, and beyond that, and then yeah, they
yeah,
get in a little bit of trouble with I want to say some a pound or something, dog
yeah,
catchers.
yeah,
Not much.
yeah,
It's a very the original film was very much just like still where Disney would occasionally drop a film that's just what, look at the cute animals, look at them. Look at them do stuff. They eating the
right,
spaghettis.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
all. It was never been a deep film. But again,
yeah.
that's another one that's just like, and I guess in general, other than when I heard how much different Mulan was, that's the only one of these.
Hmm.
I'm realizing I haven't seen Aladdin either. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
I guess being the Disney kid that I am, and
Hmm.
growing up, these live action ones feel so unnecessary. I guess I don't have much
Right,
drive to go see
right,
them.
right. That's basically how I was too. And they actually did do changes to Aladdin. And I think there were some different like musical cues.
Hmm.
I do like on a lot of them. They really kind of touched more on the setting for those a bunch more,
Right,
and like just the culture and everything that should have revolved around them. I
right.
like how they had more of that in these movies because it was a bigger thing in Aladdin, that you wouldn't notice from just watching the animated movie. And I thought Will Smith was a welcome change. I was pretty happy with that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Robin Williams. That's a role you're never going to
Oh
get
yeah.
away from any kind of comparison.
Right.
But and I
Right.
don't think is fair. Not that I've seen the film,
Right.
but I saw people like immediately attack. And I'm not
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
biggest Will Smith fan, but I'm not a Will Smith
Hmm.
hater either. You know,
Right.
so like I felt that
Yeah.
was very unfair.
Yeah, and my thing is I'm always back and forth with Will Smith because a lot of times he does act that same character in every role.
Yeah.
This was one of those where he could kind of really hammer in his like comedy roots and really drive it home for it, and
Right.
I thought it worked very well
Okay.
with the way that he handled the role, and I thought it was really good. Um, the last one that we watched that I honestly almost forgot was Beauty and the Beast. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it was decent. I again, like Beauty and the Beast wasn't one of my favorites. My favorites were always Little Mermaid and Aladdin
Okay.
when I was growing up. Loved the music, the theme, and everything like that. I thought it was really great. But I mean, Beauty and the Beast still pretty close to the source material. I think with a few small additions and everything. I like the way that they animated all of the furniture and made it all look was really neat. Uh, and Emma Watson as Belle was a good casting call in my opinion. And the musical numbers all worked really well in it too.
Okay. The most I've, again, I have not
Hmm.
watched it. Just Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when it came out, winning all the Academy Awards, it got so much attention when I was young. So I watched it a bunch, of course.
Hmm.
The biggest complaint I think I've heard about that one, though, well, besides the people who didn't like the uh, what's the word? Because I'm tired. Basically, between Gaston and his buddy, little homoerotic
Hmm.
friendship. Which, hey, cool.
All
Wow,
right.
that dude was obsessed with a
Oh yeah.
buff dude. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so beyond that, which I don't give a shit about those complaints. Fuck those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was that Emma Watson's singing was not the best.
Um, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't have a super keen ear, but I thought it was fine.
And
And
admit,
it
I'm
was
sure
kind
it's
of
nitpicking. Don't get it wrong. It's the internet complaining,
yeah,
but that's like really the only
yeah,
thing I really saw. Besides the
yeah.
typical like, are these necessary? you know,
Right,
complaint,
right.
which I kind of fall,
Yeah,
kind of get behind a little bit. But
yeah,
I'm not hating. I'm glad you enjoyed them for the most
yeah,
part.
yeah, yeah. So, kind of going back to our theme of you know, partnerships and working well together
Yeah.
and stuff like that. This morning, the date is the 10th of May. That we're recording. They just dropped the second Venom trailer
Yes.
for Venom: Let There Be Carnage.
Oh my, yes they
And
did.
yeah, yeah, and it seems like they made a few changes. Um, I need to go back and rewatch the first one because so it's an interesting relationship between me and Venom, right?
Right.
Because for the longest time I was the biggest Flash Thompson fan, like for a very, 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 very long time. His series with Rick Remender started back in June 2015. It ran for quite a few issues. Colin Bunn picked it up for a while, and it was just like so good. Like I just loved the shit out of it. It was
Right.
such a cool concept, cool idea. Flash Thompson, Peter Parker's high school bully, he went through some shit, and ended up getting the Venom symbiote and was battling with his own stuff, and became this really really cool character. So whenever they took the symbiote away from him and gave it back to Eddie Brock, I was a little put off until Donny Cates took the reins and just like made all these cool updates to the character and just made him such a like he was already a really big character for a lot of people, and I understand that, but like Donny Cates like pushed it to a whole new level with his storytelling for Venom.
Yeah, the
And
recent Venom series,
mhm,
and I'm a casual Venom fan.
mhm,
No, I was reading the Spider-Man books when he debuted back in the day,
right.
and even was reading the Maximum Carnage arc, which this movie is taking some hella inspiration from.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but I would say once he became kind of the anti-hero, the Lethal Protector, I
Mhm,
believe it was his first
mhm,
series, it kind of waned on me because I liked him better as like
yeah.
a straight up villain. So I haven't really
Yeah.
cared about him, but I was on that Donny Cates Venom series for a while before I just really cut
Hmm.
down on my books. And yeah, he absolutely made the character more interesting again,
Yeah.
especially with Eddie himself. You know, like
Hmm.
the relationship with the symbiote, and then everything with Null it led into this whole Kingdom Black stuff going on. It's been
Oh
really
yes.
interesting.
Oh yeah. And they're actually, I think this week, they're releasing his last Donny Cates' last issue. I think it's
Oh,
35 or something. It's issue 200, technically, quote unquote.
right, right.
So that's going to be exciting. So the interesting thing for me for the first movie, and I think it's what a lot of people were kind of saying, is how do you have Venom without Spider-Man, right? I think that was the biggest thing whenever the movie came out, and
Yeah.
they did a pretty interesting job with it, I think.
I think they answered the question spectacularly.
Hmm.
Like, and don't get wrong, I think the
Hmm.
movie was good. Not didn't
Yeah.
blow me away, but it was good.
Right. Right.
How do you
Right.
do Venom without Spider-Man? I point to the
Hmm.
movie.
Hmm.
That's how. It was just
Yeah.
fine without Spider-Man. You don't need fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I get tired of people thinking, because I'm going blank right now, but we had another example that made me think of this whole Venom complaint too, where they
Hmm.
were talking about another like character who's linked to it, and not even I don't remember if it was even a villain, but just like or
Hmm.
something like Doctor Doom. Like people want Doctor Doom in the MCU, but they say,
Hmm.
well, you can't have Doctor Doom without Fantastic Four. Yes, the fuck you can. You can totally
Hmm.
have a fucking ruler of a nation getting angry at another nation, villains show up without having a Fantastic Four connection, and you can
Yeah,
totally
that's fair.
have an alien symbiote or symbiote, however you want to say it, depending on the movie.
God,
I remember that. I
let's
remember
not get into
that.
this. Eesh.
uh, you, you totally could do it without Spider-Man, and they totally did it without Spider-Man. And for the look of this trailer,
Yeah.
based on what they've shown us, they're doing it again, and it looks like it'll
Hmm.
be on par, if not better, with as the first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and as Donny Cates' run has kind of showed, like, Spider-Man was such a minute part in it
Yep.
until they got to like the big events and stuff like that. I feel like, because it was all about him, his connection to the symbiote, and like, just like the history of the symbiote, and like, all the other symbiotes that have been connected to it.
Yeah.
And then, as the title states, they're bringing Carnage as it, and Woody Harrelson is playing as Carnage.
Yep. In a much better
Which,
wig.
oh yes, yeah, that was one of the things I was waiting for, because
Yeah.
they just silhouetted him, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, let's see the hair, let's see the hair. And it looks like they did just take the wig off and maybe just dyed his hair, gave him a little bit better looking of a wig.
I mean, I like, you know, don't hate it for any man that goes through it, but no, Woody Harrelson is pretty much like
Hmm.
clean on top. It's just like
Yeah.
in the after credits scene where they introduced him in Venom One,
Hmm.
they in at
Right.
least originally in the '90s when Cletus Cassidy first showed up, he had curly red hair,
Right.
and I think that's what they were going for with the wig, and it just
Yeah.
looked awful. So they got it. They got it a little straightened, a little wild looking. It looks much better in this trailer.
Well, the explanation here is whenever we saw him at the end of the last movie, he had just gotten arrested and been thrown into jail, and he hadn't gotten his hair cut. Right.
Oh, maybe. No, maybe if that's what if that's what
That's
you
what I'm
need,
going with.
if that's what you need to make yourself feel better about that, that's great.
Yeah. And I think they also showed like I said, I only saw the first one once, and I know that they introduced another symbiote to it. And possibly Scream. I can't remember, but
Uh,
I think that they actually show her a bit in this trailer, right?
yeah, wasn't she called Shriek?
Shriek, that's it, not
Yeah.
Scream.
Well,
I
they
think
showed a
they,
woman, and they show a
yeah.
woman like the same woman. At one point, they just kind of show her laying on like a cot. Then it shows her in her
Hmm.
container, and she's like, yeah, she's like look like she's vibrating with her by screaming. So I think yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's 100% confirmed that Shriek will at least be in
Shriek,
this one.
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, that's fucking interesting. And it's kind of, I'm wondering where they're going with it. I feel like eventually they're gonna bring in Spider-Man, right? Especially with everything going on with Spider-Man this year, anyway. And the movie's supposed to drop, I think, in September. Um, so now that makes me wonder, like, when is that coming? I guess No Way Home is probably not until winter, right?
I think so.
Um, yeah,
Like see. Here's my thing. I kind of circling back to us talking about does
yeah.
Venom need Spider-Man?
Mm,
I don't. And I thought of a better way to explain it. We Venom only needs Spider-Man if Venom's going to be the villain.
right.
At least as far as like the origin. Like now, him
Mm,
teaming up with Spider-Man to take on the other symbiotes, sure, and then maybe blend in with the new, the No Way Home movie or something down the line.
mm,
But like, yeah, like guys says, just kind of circling back to people's complaints that he wasn't in the origin film. Unless you're gonna make
yeah.
Venom evil, there was no reason for Spider-Man to be in the movie.
It's true.
But
If you're going straight for anti-hero,
yeah,
then
yeah.
yeah.
Now he's just kind of a reluctant hero instead of the anti-hero. You know,
Hmm.
trying to contain the a waffle making symbiote. As we got, like, you
Yeah.
see the goofy relationship between Eddie and the Venom symbiote has gotten even goofier in this trailer,
Hmm.
which was, again, I was like, for some reason, like, it still takes me a second to remember they did kind of like lighten up a little bit, because like Venom to me is still very much a very serious dark character, and they're,
Yeah.
and the movies did change that feel a bit, so it caught me off guard at first, but then I went, okay, that's right, that's kind of how they had the relationship going by the end of the first movie, going on with Eddie and the symbiote. So yeah, I like it. Looks good. They flat out showed Carnage, and
Hmm.
my oh little nitpick. And
Hmm.
granted, I don't think we really got a clear shot of them like facing off with each other. What I always liked about Carnage is, Venom's a big, hulking, menacing figure,
Hmm.
while Carnage was
Oh yeah.
always more like Spidey size, but like twice as vicious and twice as deadly.
Hmm.
And they kind of look
Right.
like they're making the Carnage when he's full on Carnage suit. And Woody Harrelson's not a small person, but it's
Hmm.
like he kind of like I always liked the dynamic of how small he was compared to Venom when they faced off. But he
Yeah.
looks like he's going to
Yeah.
be on par size for size, and I mean it's not going to detract it. But there's that little bit of me that's like, oh, I wish they would have got the size difference a little better.
Hmm. Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting, and there are always, changes and things that could be made. I wonder if they're going to go with like the whole origin of Carnage being Venom's offspring. Um,
Yeah,
and if that's going to be a thing, I wonder if they're going to get into like Toxin, which is essentially Carnage's offspring.
I
Um,
mean down the line, you never know.
yeah.
Like we got again, I can't remember what the name of the symbiote we had in the first movie that he faced off with, but
Yeah.
all that spawned from Carnage and Venom, just like pieces of his suit. If I remember right, were just kind of. I know for
Hmm.
sure that's how Carnage got made. He was sharing a cell with Eddie, and
Yeah.
but he broke out. They thought the symbiote suit was gone. It was before they learned that it's literally just a part of his DNA. And he
Hmm.
broke out, little piece of it left behind, and jumped on Cletus. And then
Right.
it got altered to his own psychosis to be the red with little black trim in there. And then I
Hmm.
assume something similar happened because I like as much as I know I read Maximum Carnage, I don't remember a whole lot about how the others came about.
Yeah.
But I remember that's how Carnage got started.
Yeah. So I think they split a lot of them up. I pulled up this article, and honestly, I'm not really sure like how accurate it is.
Oh,
But it was the first thing I pulled up, so
okay.
this is what I'm gonna go with for now,
Right.
until I can prove myself otherwise. But they had other symbiotes, that they split off from the original one. Um, and the big one was Riot, um,
Right.
that he fought, and then they also had Phage, and then apparently Toxin, um, which was the one that I was like looking for.
Right.
I honestly don't remember how any of these ended up or anything like that. Like it is
It
just
may have
kind
been
of.
it may have been as easy as Carnage kind of replicating what Venom
Hmm.
inadvertently did to make Carnage. It may have been
Yeah.
Carnage like just breaking off pieces of his symbiote into other
Hmm.
prisoners, which is probably like showing like with Shriek being in there. I'm thinking that's what happens, and that's
Yeah.
probably what
Yeah.
happened. Like I said, not gonna read a long wiki article trying to remember.
I know, right?
But but that trailer was a good surprise. I had no idea it was
Hmm.
dropping.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't really expecting it, but it's kind of nice to know that they're still working on it and going hard at it. You know, I am fine with it not, but I do kind of wonder with how things are going if they're ever going to try to connect it to the MCU, because this movie does come out like several months before Spider-Man comes out.
Right.
So I kind of I can't help but wonder like are any of the supposedly um, different universe swapping things going to happen to affect Venom? I don't know that they've actually established that Venom is in the MCU. I'm assuming not because I feel like they would have like given us some kind of hint to that in the first movie. But I'm always looking for that and kind of hoping for that, but okay if it doesn't, especially after Far From Home.
Yeah, and I don't. I think like the talks have gone so back and forth on
Hmm.
whether they're gonna ever connect the two with Sony and Marvel. Like because I know at one point Sony's like, we want to take our Spider-Man and go home.
Yeah.
Then they agreed to kind of work with Marvel. So like never say never, but I feel like they're gonna keep them separate. Like we may, if all the insanity rumors that we've been hearing about No Way Home is true,
Mm. Hmm.
we could maybe get a cameo. And but
Right.
it also may be the gateway to the official merger.
Hmm.
But
Well, and that kind of begs another question, right? Because they're also working on this Morbius movie,
yeah,
and you know, like it seems like that's fairly solo as well. So are they just like, we don't want to tie any of this in with, we don't want to tie any of the uh, Spider-Man centric characters in with Spider-Man. We're just gonna make our own anti-hero movies and stuff. So
well,
that's it's kind of interesting.
yeah. I mean, because again, does Morbius need Spider-Man? No,
True.
I don't believe so. Because like because often, I remember the character because people are
Mm,
still complaining up at the comic book store about the Venom not having Spider-Man in it, and we point out that oftentimes characters may debut with somebody, but they grow beyond just being
hmm.
that person's villain. Kind of like a Doctor Doom, but the example was Kingpin. Kingpin is
Mm.
technically a Spider-Man villain,
Right.
but what do most people think of when they think Kingpin? Daredevil,
Daredevil.
because
Yeah.
yeah, the Fall of the Kingpin storyline was so iconic. He's in the Netflix series. He was in that
Hmm.
horrible Affleck movie. You know what I mean? Like so again, like Morbius can 100% exist without Spider-Man, and
Right.
like even if like say Sony does continue to work with Marvel and they and Spider-Man is still part of the MCU, it doesn't necessarily mean everyone around him is going to have to be either.
Hmm.
Because I think Sony still very much wants their own universe. You know what I mean? Their own. Like at one point they were talking to straight up calling it the Venom verse. Just it's all going to center around
Mm,
Eddie Brock, and then
yeah.
Morbius will be maybe a tie-in with him eventually, and all going
Hmm.
from there. Their own darker Spider-Man. You know.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, like, I'm all for it. I'm always for some dope like Venom shenanigans and everything. I I would always like it if they found a way to bring Flash Thompson in, but that's not going to be a thing, I guess.
Look, man, look. You have to understand something.
Hmm.
Actually, you know what? I was about to talk shit, then I suddenly had an idea. Like, what if? Because we don't have and I don't know if you feel like the actor they've used already for Flash in the current
Yeah.
MCU would fit that role. Although you never
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But who's to say there's not like without calling him Venom, that they still
Hmm.
couldn't kind of do an Agent Venom storyline
Right.
in the MCU?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing because I've seen it done multiple times like in the animated series and it's kind of like been back and forth on how I felt about that because I have been like going through and trying to stay up to date on those
Right.
because they don't have time to fucking throw Flash Thompson and Peter Parker into like years of it. They've been keeping them in high school and
Right.
everything. So it's interesting. I could see it happening, but I think the biggest thing that turned Flash Thompson into this is like a lot of his trauma, and how much he likes Spider-Man and everything. Going off to war and stuff like that. You don't necessarily need all that stuff. And of course, like, they I don't think Disney Marvel is really willing to go into some of that trauma, like alcoholism and abusive like parent and stuff like that. Um, I don't feel like they're
Uh,
necessarily trying to get
they've
into that much.
they've touched on it. I mean,
Yeah,
like we got Iron Man drunk at a party
that's true.
in a movie,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I don't think they would be. I don't think that would be what would stop them. Because even if they
Yeah.
don't go like full on showing the dad beating the shit out of Eddie
Oh
or
yeah. Oh
anything,
right.
but like it can still
Yeah.
be done and done,
Yeah.
well enough. It's just
Yeah.
I think unfortunately a big part of it is they didn't buy Sony.
Mhm.
Flat out,
Mhm.
like we were talking,
Pretty
like
much.
during that whole war between like,
Mhm.
and maybe it got escalated just by us fans, but like the hilarious memes of like Sony's like, well, we want to make Spider-Man without y'all. We can take our Spider-Man and go home. Like, oh really? You
Mhm.
see Mickey Mouse open his wallet. How much it cost? How much your company cost? like,
Yeah.
like, uh, so as much as I like, there could be a way. I don't want to give you too much
Mhm.
hope because I can't, I
Yeah.
also can't shake the feeling that Agent Venom sitting right there on a chair next to Beta Ray Bill in the cast of who will never be in the MCU to
Right.
anger
Right.
Jerry, just to spite you, specifically you.
Yeah.
But you never know. Never say never. And that's like them moving forward eventually, like like we talked about, like at least up at the shop we've been talking about, this no way home and all the rumored like appearances in alternate universe, because we got a whole multiverse of madness coming, and all this stuff has got us speculating, and how like
Mhm.
I feel the MCU's moving forward, and I think that's a good thing because one of
Right.
my coworkers came to me and he said there's a rumor on the internet, and I don't know where he gets his rumors from, but I assume if it's on the internet, it's negative. uh,
Mhm.
like, did you hear that Chris Evans might come back as Cap? I'm like, I hope to God not, because like legit, Cap had a great run, and he
Mhm.
had a perfect bookend to his story. And if they bring him back, that makes the entirety of Falcon and Winter Soldier pointless, and that was an amazing
Right.
show. I feel like that rumor's getting pushed by a bunch of people who aren't happy that there's a black Captain America. I'm gonna say it. That
Right.
may not be where
Yeah.
he got his source from, but if it's on the internet, I can't help but think that. And like,
Mhm.
I want to go forward. If say Tom Holland only does these three, and we get a Miles
Mhm.
Morales, or we get like of Agent Venom or a good guy Venom in the MCU, I'd be okay with moving along. You know what I mean? We don't have to
Mhm.
linger on. Now, granted, like Spider-Man wasn't in there for the entire 10 years of the original MCU. Phases one
Mhm.
through three. So we're not necessarily like tired of him, but like a lot of like, I don't want Robert Downey Jr. back as Iron Man. We still got our speculation. I'm pretty sure you shared it too, of the whole like him coming back maybe as an AI. Like a new Jarvis, new Friday. But like,
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with Sam as Cap. I'm perfectly fine with say we get a Riri Williams, which they've already confirmed.
Mhm. Right.
I'm perfectly fine with Ironheart. I don't need Iron Man anymore. If Thor wanted to
Mhm.
move on and we got, well, Throg, not Beta Ray Bill. We'll get Throg before we get Beta Ray Bill. Uh,
I
we,
hate how right you are.
I hope no, but like legit. And Hemsworth said he'll do Thor until he can't. But like when the time comes, they need to get rid of Thor. I'm perfectly fine with Beta Ray Bill. You know what I mean?
Right.
Another, if they just need to have that godly powerhouse come in, they keep the,
Mhm.
so you have the same dynamic, but we don't need to keep lingering on these same characters.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, that's I feel like that's where a lot of times Marvel sort of misses the mark, with their
Yeah,
comic books, which it's something that they should have done a long time ago that they can never stick with. And it's all due to like money and how they can make it and not make it.
right.
As far as like, the original characters coming back into their own mantle and stuff like that. Like it's one of the things that I've always gone back to indie comics for is,
Right.
you have this timeline that you can actually follow where characters, move on, change, grow, pass down their mantle and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that
And
like
yeah,
sorry to jump in, but like
no, you're fine.
I was just gonna say it was like a lot, which is what I think of a lot of the characters that I in comics that I've followed over the years. They have either grown, moved, or moved on. Like the Teen Titans,
Right.
we've had several Robins in the Teen Titans.
Hmm.
We've the
Oh yeah.
mantle has been moved along, and we've seen the characters grow and the new ones join up with the team. Same with like say my New Mutants or say like
Hmm.
Savage Dragon. I know I'm one of four people that like that book, but you know Eric Larson killed his main character and
Yeah.
had his son take up the mantle. And while there's been and he's got all these interdimensional things and they've talked about like hey there's alternate dimensions that your father could be alive, so he's set up his own possibility to return Dragon to the lead,
Hmm.
but he's kept Malcolm. He's not no he's progressing the story, and I'm still predicting that eventually, if it keeps going as long as he can keep it going,
Yeah.
Malcolm's got kids already who are already starting to
Right.
show their super strength, being that they are dragon kids. Savage Dragons gonna become Savage Dragons, So like, I like progression in comics, and Marvel and DC is just as guilty. We had the it wasn't New 50. Was it New 52 when they officially like kind of reset everyone's ages so Bruce could still be Batman?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like,
Yep.
and there's an aspect to marketing that I get that familiarity sells. They've
Hmm.
put different people under the mantles before, and it's never worked because
Right.
as much as nostalgia drives us, it holds us back as well.
Hmm.
And like I love looking back at my old cartoons and toys from my 80s and 90s of me growing up, but it's
Hmm.
like I don't know, I don't have that like watching the new Star Wars trilogy and complaining because it's not Luke Skywalker. You know what I mean? In the
Right.
lead,
Right.
I don't, I don't mind story progression as long as it's well done and it's not like feels like a cheap knockoff. And to me, that's like when they put Dick Grayson in Batman's mantle.
Yeah.
I heard that was. I didn't read it honestly because I'm always on and off on Batman, but like
Hmm.
that apparently was really well received, and I was like,
Yeah.
are they finally gonna pull that trigger? Nope, Batman's in his
Hmm.
20s again. Yet Nightwing's
Right.
still also 20, but okay.
Yeah.
So like I know
Yeah.
we kind of got off on a side tangent about taking over, but like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
uh, but yeah, so like well, I think we originally were talking about how to get Venom into the MCU. Kind of,
Well, like,
yeah,
and specifically like Agent Venom
yeah,
and how that would work. And honestly, I feel like Agent Venom would have worked even better as like its own thing,
yeah,
and Eddie Brock being brought into the MCU probably would have worked better.
right,
I think now it would just be kind of difficult to do like an Agent Venom storyline in the MCU, especially now with how popular Eddie Brock's Venom is. In the comics
right,
after Donny Cates' run and everything, because I mean, like before, it was just kind of like the beginning of Donny Cates' runs. I think like the Venom movie was slated to come out right after Donny Cates' run started. So it was kind of interesting with how that all panned out. We didn't know how good it was going to be. We just knew like, oh, okay, cool. This is kind of hyping us up for the movie a bit.
right.
So yeah, it was very interesting, and it's kind of interesting the things that they decide to do, and I think a lot of it, just kind of boils down because everybody complains about like, why is this changed in this movie? The source material is so good, it's all just right here, and I think a lot of it just boils down to like how the directors or writers are feeling, and they're like, they want to put their own ideas into the film
Yeah,
instead of like just copy straight from the comic book because then they won't feel like it's like theirs or whatever.
yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, and don't get it wrong, I can be a stickler, for like like I've always, but I think I've always tried to be fair about change. Like
Hmm.
you can change from the source material as long as it feels like it's a part of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
unnecessary changes can really just skew things. So
Hmm.
like I'm trying to think of like an example, but like even in the MCU, as much as we love these adaptations, they're different from the comics. They may have
Oh yes.
taken elements from different books. A lot of like the early MCU was from the Ultimate Verse. It wasn't even the mainline
Oh yeah.
continuity. But like
Hmm. Hmm.
it's even if it's a little different, like my biggest complaint like for Thor, besides just the fact that the first two movies were okay to bad, was like
Yeah.
we're not gods anymore. They're aliens. And we're like, fucking why?
Yeah.
What does that benefit them? And this is
Yeah.
coming from Marvel. It's like
Yeah.
this was their choice because they wanted to be grounded. Like, really?
Exactly.
So an alien that's the god of thunder is okay that that's the god of thunder? No, yo, bro, why they got Pegasi in there? Why are they just using hovercrafts? Because they got all this advanced technology. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, and then they slowly were like, yeah, they're gods. They're gods. You know what I mean? It was like, even the MCU's done that, but like, just
Hmm.
when you change up, like one of my, I was so excited for Kick Ass, right? This movie,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and the first half of this movie was accurate to the comic, but then
Yeah.
whether it was the director, the writer, or the studio, could have been anybody. They pussed out on the end and changed it up,
Yeah.
and it was not in the feel of the comics. And to me,
Right.
like it went from the story of Kick-Ass. If y'all haven't read it, is just about a kid who wanted to be a vigilante hero because he always grew up reading comics and he wanted to do right and do good. Gets into a car accident trying to stop some thugs, and they beat his ass and throw him out in the street. He gets run over by a car, resulting in nerve damage where he doesn't feel pain. So that's the only reason he can be a hero. So the whole basis of Kick-Ass way that I liked about it was this is an average kid who's only got by luck, and yes, he has Hit Girl who's a skilled murderer, you know, and but then so you take that and you just throw that out the window by giving him a jetpack and a rocket launcher and making him like the big badass hero at the end of the movie, and
I mean,
yeah,
why wouldn't they?
and they took out like the most realistic response anyone could think of to you lying to somebody. Uh, like him, like the girl he likes, he could never confess, and at some point she got mistakenly thought that he was gay, and so he
Hmm.
lied and said he was so he could hang out with her.
Right.
In the comics, she got pissed when she found out that he said no, I said that so I could be near you because I really like you. Like you're a fucking liar, because that's a
Yeah.
very human reaction. In the
Hmm.
movie, oh, that's romantic. And he got the girl, and it's like, what? What the fuck? What was that? so,
Yeah.
so all this is,
It was. It
yeah,
was awkward.
all this is circling back to. I'm really excited for the new Venom movie.
Uh huh.
But yeah, no, but again, as we do, we went off on quite a few tangents, but we covered some good stuff. We got
You know what?
yeah,
Talking about Kick-Ass and Mark Millar,
okay,
have you
yeah.
seen?
What you got?
Have you seen the new show that they released based off of the Mark Millar comic called Jupiter's Legacy?
I I saw that it is out. I did not. I
Yeah.
forgot that was a Millar book.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
I do plan to watch it this week, so y'all can
Hmm.
probably look forward to the next episode. Us most likely talking about Jupiter's Legacy. Yeah,
Right.
'cause
Right.
I
Yeah.
wholly need to get on that because it's been out now. Like as of this recording, I think it's been out for like the better part of this last week. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I've gotten caught up on wrestling documentaries, which
Yay.
uh, I know you don't give two shits about, so they'll never be discussed on this show. But maybe on something in my down the line on my channel, Bearded Copper
Oh,
Productions.
Sean's gonna make his 5th podcast.
Look, bro, if you were a better friend and had all my same interests, like, look, I don't know how you can't get into grown men in tights fake fighting each other live when you watch grown men in tights fake fight each other on Super Sentai and Power Rangers. It's the same damn
That's
thing.
that's fair. That's fair.
But there are no. But granted, there are no giant robots. Just undead Undertaker demon gods.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all I got, brother. We are about out of time. You got anything last minute you want to throw out there?
No, I think I'm good. If you're into co-op games, definitely check out that It Takes Two. It's hella fun and really beautiful.
Is that a
Yeah,
is that a PC only release or is that on consoles?
yeah, they have it on consoles as well. I think it's PS4, Xbox, because it's an EA game, so
Okay.
they gotta have it everywhere.
Right.
Well, we've been playing it on PC,
Right.
so
Cool. Check. Y'all should go out there and check that game out and enjoy some couch co-op, a dying art in video games.
for real.
All right, but that's going to do it. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your mom, tell your dog, tell everyone to listen to us. We'll catch y'all next time.
Peace.